Good day everyone. Today, we are diving into the enchanting world of light painting with still life. It's all about using light as your brush to transform everyday objects into extraordinary works of art. It's similar to more larger-scale light painting styles. Spinning orbs and flaming steel wool, nightscapes, and even astro to some degree. Camera settings can vary, but in general it's still long exposures, but on a much smaller scale, and with very soft light. In every essence of the word, we literally are painting in light on our subject. As opposed to creating something with light that didn't exist, like this orb of spinning flaming steel wool. Often performed in the dark, the essence of light painting is to paint in the highlights of your scene with a low lumen torch. Using long exposures help give it the painterly feel and strong textures. Anything from 15 to 20 seconds to 1 to 2 minutes. Even longer for really complicated images. It is all about movement and creativity. The tools I use are not expensive and readily available. A cheap torch from Bunnings will do the trick, but I do find mobile phones and normal torches are too bright and need to be diffused with baking paper or cloth over the end. I commonly use an iris LED light from Harlow. I can control the intensity of the light like 1% power. I can also close down the iris or aperture. It also has a long-lasting battery and it's small enough to fit in your hand. As with dark and moody images, I adore organic and natural elements, timber, cloth, fruit, and flowers, something with great texture which is brought out in the image. I try to keep things simple in my scenes, as they are quite distinctive. And look for non-traditional props, vintage tools, and more masculine props can work really well too. Strong colors and non-reflective items are fantastic. Glass and shiny surfaces can be difficult, but not impossible. Working to bring out the details in my images, slowly and with precision. I make sure my hero is well focused. If the focus is off, it will be exaggerated and heightened in a long exposure. If you have something with text, I generally try to make sure the texture is legible. Blurry text can make an image difficult to look at. I adore using old, rustic, and vintage items. They are often worn smooth, or have dents and scratches, and develop rust or patina over time. The juxtaposition of these old-world items with fresh fruit or flowers is at the heart of so many of my light-painted images. Small items, like these mushrooms, can be tricky, but not impossible. Together with soft linen and a backdrop of vintage tinware works well in the composition. Composition cannot be ignored, simply because you are shooting a different style. Learning the compositional rules means you can then decide whether to break them for the sake of creativity, and not just bad planning. I will work in a triangle shape, even if it is not readily obvious at first. I will also work with odd numbers. I think it is more pleasing to the eye. I love to work a lot with fabric in light painting. Being able to really accent shadows and highlights works really well with beautiful fabric. My fabrics of choice are linen and cotton. It really does not matter the subject choice, soft and feminine, like flowers and even fairy tales. These dried rose, tiara and a fob watch along with this book remind me of princesses and castles. But it's fabulous style for just about anything. Deeply dark and moody product shots can be achieved with a little time and patience. Or old-world masculine charm, can all work really well. Look at the rust and smooth spots, the dints and texture, just beautiful. By now some of you may be asking, but hey, there is a story here? And yes, sort of. The actual piece has a story, but not necessarily the image. But if it makes you ask a question, what, where, who, when or how, then I think the viewer can make their own story. I think there can be interest, as well as a story. It's all about capturing the details, a nick, a dent, some rust, natural textures, bringing out the best each item has to display. If you are working with something much lighter in tone, or shiny surfaces, do not give as much light as the rest of the image. It can be a little hit and miss at first, but one thing about this art form, you know very quickly when you have it wrong and how to quickly correct it for the next shot. Learning on the job for sure. If you are moving too fast, you will have weird shadows and flat spots. Move too slow, you get squiggly white lines in the image. If you work with highly reflective surfaces, may get light squiggles too. You will know them when you see them. Think of it like Harry Potter and the wands, a swish and flick. Use the torch like a conductor's baton. This is probably one of the most complicated light painted images I have yet attempted, and it used a variety of images and exposures to get it right in my eye. The longest exposure was approximate 10 minutes, and this whole setup took most of the day for a single image. This of course required the use of several ND filters and many attempts to get right. Patience is a virtue when it comes to light painting. No two images are the same. You can capture your image in a single shot, or a mix of shots, edited in post to create a single composite image, like this one. I usually prefer to get everything in a single shot, but it's not always possible. Glass can be tricky, as you often get reflections from the torch, but using grungy, dirty old vintage bottles can work really well. A big part of my light painting is using filters to keep things dark and have longer exposure. Sure, you can shoot at night, but I prefer the daytime. I like a ND6-10 filter, but you can use a variable density or even a circular polarizer filter. It depends on how dark your room is and how long you want the shutter open for. The longer the shutter times, the more painterly the image can become. When starting out, try just 20 to 30 seconds to get the feel for it. If you find when using an LED torch your image is too blue, which often happens, try adjusting your white balance to a more preferable color. I personally like the blue. And when I say you can use anything, I mean it. You just need a little imagination. This is a direct bell alarm the MFB used to use, along with some sprinkler heads, a gauge, and some spanners from my hubby's work truck. A little light painting magic, and it is a work of art. Once I have captured my images, whether a single shot or a few that needs to be made into a composite, I will then edit it in post. I have a few actions that I use to speed things up, but I still have a distinctive look. I usually add dodge and burn layers to enhance the image. I frequently add a textured overlay to the background. Thank you so much for your time today. If you'd like to see more of my work or learn more about these techniques, please visit my website. There is a self-paced online class just for light painting with still life. Just look under the Learning Hub. Happy painting!